this weekend against Washington.
No, I like the fact, Skip, that I didn't like when I first heard this, Jalen Smith talking about the team after the team that they're supposed to play. And then he clarified it, say we're taking one game at a time, is that the most important opponent is Washington. You don't worry about Philly. The Philly should be the last thing. You shouldn't even know where Philly is on the map. You shouldn't even want a Philly cheesesteak. You shouldn't want anything Philly. Philly should be the furthest thing from their mind. The most important thing is the football team that plays in D.C. That's where your focus should be. But it's still, Skip, because everybody in this division is horrible. This isn't a must-win. Think about that, Skip, for a second. You have a team. You have teams. Nobody, 7 weeks into the season, has more than 2 wins. Nobody. And you talk about must-win. Man, y'all lose 3, 4 more games and still win the division in a row. It's not a must-win. Just got to play better. And I know Washington is offensively challenged. They score about 18 points a game. But the Giants were scoring 12 points a game and went and got 30-plus against the Cowboys. So given that, would I be surprised if Washington hung 40? No. I'm not predicting them to score that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Washington team, they built their team on the defensive line. Ryan Kerrigan, Chase Young, high draft pick Jonathan Allen, Mark Sweat. They got guys that can go get the quarterback, Skip. And so with that beat-up offensive line, so now you're starting Cam Irving, and you still got, backups playing other positions. So I think I'm going to take the football team to beat the Dallas football team, because they should, the last name, you don't even mention the last name. There ain't nothing. The Dallas football team plays the Washington football team, and I'm taking the Washington football team 24-23.
Does Dallas even qualify to be called a football team?
Okay,
I don't even know, just a team.
Okay, the Dallas team. I'm taking the Dallas team there.
You have my back up against the wall right now because I spent all night and very early this morning trying to convince myself that Dallas can win this game, even against the Washington football team, which has won 1 game, and now it feels like long ago because it was opening day against the Eagles.
Yes.
When the Eagles were really bad.
They came from 17 down.
They did. So what do I know about my quote-unquote football team? I know that my defense is on pace to give up more points than any defense in the history of professional football. I know that my offensive line is a disaster zone, that only 1 starter is left if, in fact, Zach Martin can't go, and he did not practice all week with a concussion that he suffered, obviously, in the previous disaster against Arizona on Monday night. Remember, they played Monday night, and they have to travel after a Monday night game. Not cool.
No.
Not the best circumstance.
That's not ideal.
No. So is Zach Martin going to play? I have no idea, but you could say it's doubtful that he's going to play.
Right.
So all I have left over is 1 starter who is by far the weakest link when they used to be a top 5 offensive line in Connor Williams.
Yes.
That's all I got left, except for a Cam Irving that you point out. He did start 8 games for Kansas City last year. He just got healthy from injury and illness. And he was once upon a time long ago the 19th overall pick out of Florida State in the draft. So, okay, so you got some tiny ray of hope at left tackle. But I also know that my team is leading the league by far in turnovers and that my defense does not take the ball away. Hence, my team is leading the league by far in negative turnover differential at -12. It's horrendously bad. No, it's, yeah, -12. Okay.
Yes.
So then I look at this defensive front, and you didn't go far enough, because when I look all the way across it, even into the backups, the edge rushers who come off the bench, Chase Young was the 2nd overall pick. You mentioned Jonathan Allen was the 17th overall. You didn't mention Deron Payne, who was the 13th overall out of Bama. So I think they might bring more. Just to destroy poor Andy Dalton. And by the way, speaking of Andy Dalton, it also dawned on me early this morning that I always have to call him Andy Dalton. He's a 2-name quarterback, and I don't think that bodes well, because he's not beloved enough to become Andy. So
Right.
if I say Andy, you don't know, am I talking about Andy Roddick or somebody? Yeah, yeah, right.
That's what, if I hear Andy,
Okay.
I'm thinking, if you say football, I'm thinking Andy Reid.
And nobody calls him Dalton,
No,
right?
no.
So every reference to Andy Dalton on the show, to me, is always Andy Dalton.
Right.
Okay, can he stand up under an onslaught from this front or blitzers or whatever? I don't know. He had a hard time against Arizona. I thought he stood up as best that he could, but he has 3 potential 1,000-yard receivers, and that's all I got on offense because Zeke, who did apologize to the team, who said he promised that he was fixing his fumbling problem. Do I trust that? Have I seen? What does my eye test tell me about Zeke? Not enough.
Right.
I don't see the Zeke of old. And I'm not saying he's old Zeke.
Right.
I just don't see what I used to see.
The guy that
No?
came in 2016
I'm
and led
sorry,
the league
I can't
twice
see it.
in his first 3 years.
Now, back to my defense. I continue to hear from people I know in Dallas that they have basically revolted on the new coordinator, Mike Nolan. I've pointed out to you, you knew Mike Nolan because he was an assistant when you were in Denver.
Denver and in Baltimore.
And in Baltimore. He had great runs with the Giants and Denver and Baltimore back in the day.
Yes.
But of late, he has not had a great run because the last time he was a coordinator was in Atlanta, 2012, 13, and 14. And his defenses allowed the 27th most yards in 12, 29th most in 13, and then in 14, the worst yards allowed were Mike Nolan's Atlanta Falcons defense, and he got fired. Okay? He got this job because he's close with Mike McCarthy. He hired Mike McCarthy to be his coordinator when Mike Nolan became the head coach in San Francisco, where he never had a winning record and got fired in his 4th year. Okay, so I am being told again and again by people I trust there that nobody believes in his system. They have no confidence in it or in him, that they can't communicate with him, that they've never been on the same page, that he's changed his tune several times, like I want this, no, I want that he can't adjust on the fly during games. So it's rampant lack of trust in the coordinator. Well, is that not a recipe for disaster?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you need the guys to believe in what you're doing and what you're teaching.
So Sean Lee is supposed to